Hey guys, today we are talking about everyday devices that might be watching, listening, and learning.
Your house isn't haunted. It just upgraded to surveillance with better customer support. 1. The smart TV is basically a gossipy wall rectangle. Once upon a time, the television was a loyal box that played sitcom reruns, judged nobody, and died with dignity after one good whack on the side. Now it's a glossy little informant hanging in your living room like it pays rent. Modern smart TVs can track what you watch, what app you open, how long you linger, and probably how often you pretend you're just browsing before rewatching The Office for the 900th time. Some even come with microphones for voice commands, which sounds convenient until you realize your TV now has the technical ability to hear you yell, "Where's the remote?" While the remote is under your leg. It's less an entertainment device and more a tattletale with HDMI ports. And the creepiest part is that people invite it in willingly. They mount it at eye level, connect it to Wi-Fi, give it access to their streaming accounts, then act shocked when the thing behaves like a corporate narc in 4K. Congratulations! Your wallpaper now has opinions, analytics, and a privacy policy longer than a Russian novel. 2. Your doorbell camera has seen more drama than daytime television. Nothing says, "Welcome home," like installing a tiny electronic bouncer next to your front door and letting it monitor every raccoon, delivery driver, neighbor, and suspicious leaf that dares move after midnight. The modern video doorbell is sold as peace of mind, but in reality, it turns every homeowner into the unpaid producer of a low-budget suburban crime series. Suddenly you know exactly when the mail arrives, when your neighbor walks their dog, and how often that one guy across the street opens his garage for no visible reason. It watches constantly, records motion, stores clips, and sends alerts with the urgency of a hostage situation. Movement detected. Yes, Gerald, that's called the wind, but people get addicted fast. They stop checking the weather and start checking the porch feed. They don't answer the door anymore. They interrogate it through an app like a hostage negotiator in pajama pants. The doorbell used to go ding-dong and mind its business. Now it's a surveillance goblin with cloud storage, night vision, and enough footage to make your Amazon driver the most documented man in America. 3. The smart speaker is always sitting there like a polite little informant. The smart speaker is the creepiest household spy because it doesn't even pretend to be useful all the time. It just sits there on the kitchen counter like a decorative canister, glowing softly, listening with the patient energy of someone collecting evidence for later. You ask it for the weather, a timer, maybe a little Fleetwood Mac while cooking eggs, and in exchange you place a microphone-powered assistant in the center of your domestic nonsense. This thing hears grocery lists, bad singing, half-finished arguments, weird late-night questions, and the exact moment you asked, "Can butter expire?" Or is that just fear talking? It was marketed as futuristic convenience. In practice, it feels like hiring a cheerful roommate who never sleeps, never leaves, and occasionally wakes up because somebody on TV said a word that sounded vaguely like its name. Old homes had creepy portraits whose eyes seemed to follow you. New homes have hockey puck robots that answer trivia and may or may not be silently cataloging your emotional breakdown next to the toaster. Humanity really looked at paranoia and thought, let's plug it in. 4. Your laptop's webcam has front-row seats to your entire life. The laptop webcam was originally designed for noble purposes: video calls, remote meetings, and awkward family Zooms where nobody understands the mute button. But in reality, that tiny black dot above your screen has probably seen more embarrassing moments than your childhood diary. It sits there quietly, pretending to be harmless, while you eat cereal at 2 p.m., Google medical symptoms you definitely shouldn't Google, and attend meetings in a shirt that is technically professional from the chest up. The worst part is how subtle it is. It's the digital equivalent of someone peeking through a keyhole, except the keyhole is built directly into the device you stare at 8 hours a day. That's why millions of people now cover their webcam with tape, stickers, or those little sliding covers that make the laptop look like it's wearing a tiny privacy helmet. Because somewhere along the way, humanity realized something unsettling. If a camera can see you, there's always the possibility someone else could too. And nothing ruins your confidence like realizing your laptop might be the only coworker who actually pays attention. 5. Your phone is basically a pocket detective. With excellent hearing, people treat their smartphones like loyal companions, but in reality, they're more like extremely curious interns that never clock out. The thing lives in your pocket, sits beside your bed, joins you in the bathroom, rides in your car, and somehow knows exactly when you start talking about something expensive. Mention hiking boots once, and suddenly your social media feeds look like a sponsored camping convention. Coincidence? Maybe, or maybe your phone just has the listening skills of a therapist who also works in advertising. Modern phones are packed with microphones, sensors, GPS tracking, cameras, motion detectors, and enough computing power to run small countries. It knows where you sleep, where you work, how long you spend in the grocery store aisle comparing cereal boxes like a philosopher facing life's hardest question. And yet, we still hand it passwords, banking apps, and photos of our lunch like it's a trusted diary. The phone isn't just a device anymore. It's a tiny data-collecting supercomputer that travels everywhere with you, silently documenting the most boring documentary ever made, your daily routine. 6. Your Wi-Fi router is the silent traffic controller of your entire digital life. Nobody pays attention to the Wi-Fi router. It's usually shoved behind a couch, blinking mysteriously like a tiny spaceship that crash-landed in the corner of your living room. But that humble plastic box is basically the central nervous system of your house. Every smart device, every phone, every laptop, every tablet, every smart toaster that insists it needed Wi-Fi for some reason, they all pass through this one blinking gatekeeper. Your router sees everything. When you stream movies, when you scroll social media at 1 a.m., when your smart fridge checks the weather like it's planning a beach day. It quietly routes all that data back and forth while people pretend it's just a magic internet lamp. But in reality, it's the digital version of an airport control tower directing thousands of tiny information flights every second. And like any control tower, if someone gets access to it, suddenly they're not just watching one device, they're watching the entire airport. The router doesn't look intimidating, but neither does a diary, until you realize someone else might be reading it. 7. Your baby monitor is the only device that's allowed to stare. All-night baby monitors were invented for the purest reason imaginable, helping parents make sure their tiny human is still peacefully sleeping instead of attempting a midnight jailbreak from the crib. But modern baby monitors have evolved from simple audio devices into full-blown surveillance systems that would make a small security company jealous. High-definition cameras, night vision, two-way audio, smartphone access, cloud recording. It's basically a Hollywood surveillance van aimed at a crib. Parents can check the camera from anywhere, which sounds comforting until you realize the internet works both ways if security isn't perfect. Suddenly, the device meant to protect the baby becomes the only camera in the house specifically designed to watch someone sleep all night. It's the one gadget everyone assumes is safe because the purpose is wholesome, and most of the time it absolutely is. But it's still a camera connected to the internet, sitting in a dark room, streaming video through invisible signals in the air. In other words, your kid's bedroom has better monitoring technology than most convenience stores. 8. Your smart thermostat knows when you're home and when you're not. The thermostat used to be the most boring object in the house. It was a beige plastic square whose only job was to make winter slightly less miserable. You'd walk by, tap it up a few degrees, and move on with your life. But the smart thermostat looked at that simple job and thought, what if I also became a behavioral analyst? These modern temperature wizards track when you wake up, when you leave the house, when you come back, and when you apparently decide that 3 a.m. is the perfect time to wander into the kitchen for snacks. They learn your schedule, adjust temperatures automatically, and proudly advertise their ability to optimize your lifestyle. Which sounds impressive until you realize it basically means the thermostat now knows your daily routine better than some of your friends do. It knows when the house is empty. It knows when everyone is asleep. It knows when the heating suddenly spikes because someone refuses to wear a sweater like a normal person. The thermostat didn't just get smarter, it became the quiet little statistician of your entire home life. 9. Your smart light bulbs are basically mood rings with Wi-Fi. Light bulbs used to have one job: exist, glow, and eventually burn out at the worst possible moment. That was the entire career path. But then, someone decided light bulbs should become tiny internet-connected philosophers that study your lifestyle. Smart bulbs now track schedules, connect to apps, respond to voice commands, and politely dim themselves like they're auditioning for a dramatic theater production. They know when you wake up, when you go to bed, and when you suddenly turn the lights on at midnight because your brain decided to remember something embarrassing you said in 2011. Many systems even track usage patterns to optimize energy efficiency. Translation: the bulb is quietly taking notes on your daily routine. And the weirdest part is that people willingly network their entire house lighting system like it's NASA mission control. One glitch, and suddenly your bedroom looks like a nightclub from 2006. The humble light bulb didn't just evolve, it joined the Internet of Things, which means somewhere, deep in a server farm, there might be data proving you spent 3 hours last night pacing your kitchen under one lonely light like a detective in a crime movie. 10. Your smart fridge knows your late-night snack. Habit's refrigerators used to be cold boxes that quietly protected leftovers and occasionally made mysterious humming noises. But modern smart fridges looked at that simple lifestyle and said, what if we added cameras, Wi-Fi, and emotional judgment? Some models now come with internal cameras that let you check your groceries through an app while standing in the supermarket. Which sounds futuristic until you realize your fridge now has better interior surveillance than some parking garages. It knows exactly when the door opens, what shelves you visit most, and how often that one container of leftovers gets ignored until it evolves into a new life form. Some even track expiration dates, shopping lists, and usage habits. In other words, your refrigerator now knows more about your diet than your doctor does. It watches you reach for snacks at midnight. It observes your optimistic vegetable purchases slowly decay over 2 weeks. It silently records the tragic life cycle of lettuce. The fridge used to just keep food cold. Now, it's a judgmental kitchen historian documenting every single time you open the door hoping new snacks magically appeared. 11. Your smartwatch tracks. You like a very polite parole officer. The smartwatch is marketed as a friendly health companion. It counts steps, tracks sleep, monitors heart rate, and occasionally reminds you to stand up like a tiny digital life coach living on your wrist. But let's be honest, this thing knows an unsettling amount about you. It tracks where you walk, how fast your heart beats during stress, how well you sleep, and how often you move during the day. In other words, it's like wearing a miniature fitness detective that constantly evaluates your life choices. Skip a workout, and it stares silently from your wrist like a disappointed gym teacher. Stay up too late, and it records your sleep patterns like a scientist studying a very tired raccoon. And because it connects to your phone in the cloud, all that data goes somewhere. Steps, locations, heart rhythms, sleep cycles. Your daily biological biography. The watch used to be a timepiece. Now it's a tiny health laboratory strapped to your arm, collecting statistics about your body every few seconds. Which means if anyone ever studies your lifestyle, they won't need a diary. Your wrist has already been keeping the receipts. 12. Your smart vacuum. Quietly maps your entire house. Robot vacuums were introduced as cute little cleaning helpers. They scoot around the floor like polite mechanical turtles, bumping into furniture and politely collecting dust while you pretend you're living in the future. But modern robot vacuums don't just clean, they map. Many of them build detailed digital layouts of your entire home so they can navigate rooms efficiently. Which sounds practical until you remember that means your vacuum literally knows the shape of your house. Room layouts, furniture placement, hallway sizes, it's basically drawing architectural blueprints while eating crumbs. Some models store these maps in apps so you can set cleaning zones, virtual walls, and schedules. But from a purely dramatic perspective, that means your floor cleaning robot has quietly built a map of your living space like a tiny reconnaissance drone. The Roomba isn't just cleaning under your couch, it's learning the geography of your lifestyle. 1 minute it's picking up pet hair, the next minute it could theoretically give a guided tour. On the left, we have the couch, where snacks mysteriously disappear, and ahead is the chair where laundry goes to die. 13. Your car in the garage is basically a rolling data center. People worry about their homes spying on them, but sometimes the most advanced surveillance device is parked right in the garage. Modern cars are stuffed with sensors, cameras, microphones, GPS tracking, internet connections, and enough software to rival a small tech company. They monitor driving habits, location history, braking patterns, fuel efficiency, seat positions, and sometimes even voice commands inside the cabin. Your car knows where you go every day, how fast you drive, and exactly how aggressively you hit the brakes when someone cuts you off in traffic. Some vehicles even send diagnostic data back to manufacturers to improve performance, which is corporate language for "we know a lot about how you drive." The average modern vehicle contains dozens of computers quietly recording information every time you start the engine. It's less a car and more a rolling analytics machine that happens to have wheels. The horse-drawn carriage never tracked anything except hay consumption. But today, your car knows your commute schedule better than your coworkers do. 14. Your gaming console listens. Harder than your teammates. Gaming consoles used to be simple. Plug in, insert game, yell at the screen when you lose. But modern consoles have evolved into sleek entertainment hubs, packed with microphones, cameras, voice assistants, and internet connections. Some systems even include motion sensors or voice commands designed to hear you across the room, which means while you're yelling at teammates, the console technically hears everything. It listens for wake words, voice commands, and sometimes background noise that triggers it accidentally because someone on TV said something similar. Suddenly, your console lights up like it just heard a secret code. The funny part is gamers treat this like normal life now. You're sitting in the living room shouting into a headset while a powerful computer connected to the internet quietly processes everything around you. The console isn't just playing games anymore. It's part of a massive online ecosystem tracking achievements, usage time, voice chat, downloads, and gameplay habits. The old console only knew how often you lost a level. The new one could probably write a psychological profile titled, "Person who definitely stayed up too late playing one more match." 15. Your smart bathroom scale. Knows when you've been lying to yourself. The bathroom scale used to be brutally honest, but simple. You stepped on it, it displayed a number, and everyone silently agreed not to talk about it again. But smart scales decided numbers alone weren't enough humiliation. Now they measure body composition, body fat percentage, hydration levels, muscle mass, and sometimes even heart metrics. Then they politely upload all of that information to an app like a brutally honest personal trainer with cloud storage. Your scale now remembers every weigh-in, every fluctuation, every moment you stepped on hoping gravity had mercy that day. It tracks trends, charts progress, and sometimes sends motivational messages that feel suspiciously passive-aggressive. You've gained 2 pounds. Thank you, machine. I also noticed the pizza. Because these scales sync with phones and health apps, the data can live in your digital health profile indefinitely, which means the object you step on for 5 seconds each morning might secretly maintain the most detailed timeline of your body's history. In other words, your bathroom scale doesn't just measure weight anymore, it keeps receipts. 16. Your smart coffee maker knows exactly how desperate your mornings are. Coffee makers used to follow a simple philosophy: heat water, brew coffee, save humanity before 9 a.m. That was it. But modern smart coffee machines decided mornings weren't complicated enough, so they added Wi-Fi, apps, schedules, and voice commands. Now your coffee maker can start brewing automatically when your alarm goes off, which sounds convenient until you realize the machine now knows your entire morning routine. It knows when you wake up, when you oversleep, and when you hit the Brew Now button with the urgency of someone who hasn't spoken to another human yet. Some models even track usage, strength preferences, and brewing times. In other words, the machine is quietly learning how badly you need caffeine to function. And if data analysts ever reviewed that information, they'd probably discover fascinating patterns like user becomes dramatically less productive without 2 cups of coffee. The humble coffee maker used to just sit on the counter like a quiet kitchen appliance. Now it's a caffeinated lifestyle assistant with Wi-Fi access and a surprisingly detailed understanding of your morning survival strategy. 17. Your smart door lock. Knows every time you come and go. Traditional locks were simple mechanical guardians. You inserted a key, turned it, and the door either opened or stayed closed. End of story. But smart locks decided security should also become a digital diary. These modern locks track exactly when doors are opened, closed, locked, and unlocked. Many of them even log which user entered, at what time, and sometimes from which device. Suddenly, your front door has become a historian documenting your daily schedule like a very polite security guard. Leave for work at 8:12 a.m.? Recorded. Come home at 6:43 p.m.? Logged. Forget your keys and unlock the door through your phone while standing outside in the rain? That moment is now part of the system's permanent memory. Some locks even allow remote access, meaning someone could theoretically unlock your house from the other side of the planet, which is amazing technology, but also slightly unsettling when you realize your front door now participates in cloud computing. The old lock just protected your house. The new one keeps a detailed timeline of your comings and goings like a digital doorman. 18. Your smart garage door knows when your house is empty. Garage doors used to be massive metal slabs whose only job was to open, close, and occasionally make terrifying grinding noises that sounded like a robot dinosaur waking up. But smart garage systems brought the internet into the mix. Now your garage door can be controlled from your phone, send alerts, and keep track of when it opens or closes. That means the system knows exactly when your car leaves in the morning and when it returns later. In other words, the garage door quietly understands your household schedule better than most neighbors. Leave early for work? The app logs it. Forget to close the door? You get a notification reminding you that your house is currently one large open invitation to raccoons and curiosity. The convenience is fantastic. You can check the garage from anywhere. But the trade-off is that your garage door is now another device connected to the digital world, constantly updating its status like a social media user with only 2 posts, opened and closed. Somehow, the most boring object in your house became part of the internet. 19. Your smart printer probably knows more about your life than your boss. Printers are already mysterious creatures. Sometimes they work perfectly. Other times, they refuse to print because of problems that sound like philosophical riddles, paper mismatch, unknown error, or the terrifying cyan cartridge issue. But modern printers didn't stop at confusing error messages. Many of them now connect to Wi-Fi, track usage, send diagnostic data, and store digital copies of documents temporarily during printing. That means your printer has quietly seen tax documents, resumes, shipping labels, school assignments, and whatever random paperwork you suddenly needed 5 minutes before leaving the house. It knows when you print frequently, when you panic print at midnight, and when you ignore it for 6 months before demanding it work immediately. Some printers even automatically reorder ink online, which means they're monitoring usage like a tiny office manager. The printer used to be a dumb machine that spat out paper. Now it's an internet-connected bureaucrat quietly processing your documents like a very slow administrative assistant with trust issues. 20. Your smart air purifier knows exactly how gross your air is. Air purifiers used to be quiet boxes that hummed in the corner like polite robots dedicated to dust removal. But modern smart purifiers upgraded themselves into environmental scientists. Many now contain sensors that constantly measure air quality, dust levels, humidity, and even tiny particles floating around your house. Then they send that data to an app that shows colorful charts explaining exactly how questionable your indoor air is. Suddenly, the machine knows when you cook, when someone lights a candle, when dust floats through the room, and when your house briefly becomes a foggy ecosystem after someone burns toast. It's basically a tiny atmospheric laboratory monitoring your living room like a scientist studying climate change in miniature. And because it's connected to your phone, the purifier keeps records over time, patterns, spikes, changes. In other words, your air purifier has quietly become the environmental historian of your home. The old version just filtered air. The new one keeps a running report on every microscopic particle floating around your life. 21. Your smart pet camera watches your dog and everything else. 2 pet cameras are marketed as comforting tools for worried pet owners. You can check on your dog or cat while you're away, talk through the speaker, maybe even toss a treat using an app like a futuristic animal butler. But the camera doesn't just watch your pet, it watches the entire room. Every movement, every time the dog jumps on the couch when you're not home, Every moment your cat stares directly into the lens like it understands surveillance technology better than humans. These cameras often stream video to your phone from anywhere in the world, which is amazing if you miss your pet, and slightly eerie when you realize your living room now has a permanent internet-connected camera installed at dog height. Some models record clips, track motion, and send alerts when activity happens. In other words, the device meant to monitor your pet might accidentally become the most active security camera in the house. Your dog thinks it's getting treats. The camera thinks it's directing a low-budget wildlife documentary called Golden Retriever: Chaos While Owner is Gone. 22. Your smart smoke detector is quietly monitoring your entire household rhythm. Smoke detectors used to live simple, honorable lives. They sat on the ceiling, minded their business, and occasionally screamed at 3 a.m. because someone made toast that resembled volcanic ash. That was the whole job description. But smart smoke detectors decided basic screaming wasn't enough anymore. Now they connect to Wi-Fi, send alerts to your phone, and monitor things like temperature, air conditions, and battery health. Some models even talk. Yes, your ceiling now politely informs you that something is wrong, like a very calm flight attendant announcing turbulence while the plane is on fire. These devices can detect when smoke appears, when alarms go off, and when the house suddenly fills with suspicious cooking decisions. And because they're connected to apps, they log activity and notify you even when you're not home, which means the device sitting quietly above your head is technically a networked sensor constantly analyzing the atmosphere in your house. The old smoke detector only panicked when something burned. The new one basically runs a tiny environmental surveillance program from the ceiling like the world's most responsible hall monitor. 23. Your smart security cameras are basically directing a 24-hour reality show security cameras used to belong in banks, convenience stores, and spy movies. But now, millions of people install them around their homes, like they're running a very low-budget television studio called Keeping Up with the Neighborhood. These cameras monitor driveways, backyards, hallways, and living rooms with the patience of someone binge-watching life itself. Motion sensors trigger recordings. Alerts pop up on phones. Cloud storage collects hours of footage. Suddenly, every squirrel, delivery driver, wandering cat, and confused neighbor becomes part of the daily broadcast, and homeowners check the footage like producers reviewing dramatic scenes. Who was that walking past the mailbox at 11:47 p.m.? It's usually a raccoon with zero criminal intentions, but the footage makes it look like a wildlife documentary directed by paranoia. The funny part is that security cameras don't just watch intruders, they watch everything. Your awkward attempts to carry 10 grocery bags at once, your dog staging a backyard excavation project, your neighbor's mysterious 2 a.m. trash routine. Congratulations! Your house is now filming a reality show nobody asked for, but everyone's devices are recording. 24. Your smart mirror is basically a bathroom philosopher with sensors. Mirrors have always been brutally honest objects. They show you exactly what you look like in the morning, which is why many people avoid them before coffee. But smart mirrors took that uncomfortable honesty and added technology. Some modern mirrors now include displays, sensors, cameras, voice assistants, and even health tracking. They can show weather forecasts, news updates, calendar reminders, and sometimes measure things like skin conditions or posture. Which means while you're standing there brushing your teeth and wondering how your hair achieved that gravity-defying architecture overnight, the mirror is quietly analyzing information like a futuristic bathroom consultant. The concept sounds like science fiction, but it's already creeping into homes. A mirror that reflects you while also processing data about you. At some point, mirrors stopped being reflective glass and started acting like very polite digital observers. The old mirror simply showed your reflection. The smart mirror might eventually greet you like a morning news anchor. Good morning, you slept badly, it's raining outside, and you should probably drink water. 25. Your smart TV remote is basically a tiny data button factory. Nobody thinks about the remote control. It's a plastic wand that mysteriously disappears into couch cushions like it's entering another dimension. But the modern smart TV remote has quietly become a data collection device disguised as a button board. Every click matters. What you watch, when you pause, When you fast forward how long you browse menus, it's all part of the viewing ecosystem. Streaming services and smart TVs analyze patterns so they can recommend content with frightening accuracy. Watch one documentary about sharks, and suddenly your entire homepage becomes an underwater wildlife obsession. The remote is the tiny trigger for all that information. Each button press sends signals through apps, systems, and servers that track viewing behavior like a film critic studying your habits. The old remote only changed channels. The new remote helps generate entire behavioral profiles about what entertains you, which means somewhere in a database, there's probably a chart proving you watched 3 episodes of something terrible at midnight and then pretended you didn't enjoy it. 26. Your smart mattress knows exactly how badly you sleep. Beds used to be the final safe place from technology. You lay down, closed your eyes, and escaped the digital world for a few hours. But smart mattresses looked at that peaceful arrangement and thought, what if we added sensors? These mattresses can track sleep cycles, heart rate, breathing patterns, body movement, and how often you toss around like a confused rotisserie chicken. Then the data gets sent to an app that politely explains your sleeping habits in painful detail. Suddenly your bed is analyzing whether you slept deeply, lightly, or like someone wrestling invisible raccoons. It might even suggest improvements like adjusting temperature or bedtime routines, which is helpful, but also slightly unsettling when you remember your mattress now monitors your body while you're unconscious. The place humans go to escape the world has turned into another data collection station. The old mattress just held springs and questionable stains. The smart mattress holds sensors, algorithms, and enough sleep statistics to make you feel personally judged by furniture. 27. Your internet provider knows everything your house does online. And finally, the most powerful observer in your home isn't even inside your house. It's the invisible pipeline connecting all your devices to the outside world. Your internet provider carries every search, every stream, every late-night rabbit hole you fall into, while asking questions like, can penguins have knees? All that data travels through their networks like cars on a digital highway. Every smart device in your home, TVs, phones, speakers, thermostats, cameras, eventually sends information through that connection, which means your internet provider sees the traffic patterns of your entire digital life. They may not know every detail of what's inside encrypted data, but they absolutely know when your house becomes active online, when you stream, when you browse, when the smart fridge checks for updates at 2 a.m. like it's having an existential crisis. The entire modern home runs on that invisible connection. So technically, the biggest observer of your digital household activity isn't a gadget on your shelf. It's the pipeline connecting all of them together. So, which gadget spies the hardest in your house? Confess in the comments.